Hi, I'm Mike, and today I'm working on a 2000 Honda Accord, and the problem that we're having with it is the instrument cluster. The display lighting is intermittent. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And that's a problem when you're driving at night because you can't see how fast you drive and you can't see how much fuel you have. And what does light up is the odometer will light up and your shift selector does light up, but everything else will be blacked out. Right now the key's in the ignition on the on position, but it's not running, so that's why we see these lights. Otherwise those wouldn't be there either. So we're going through a process of diagnosing this problem and see if we can fix it. Okay, this is a demonstration of the problem that we're having. As you see right now, I'm gonna turn the lights on, and unfortunately this time they came on. But what happens is sometimes they black out like this because there's something loose back here. And when it's like that, it's really hard to see your instrument cluster. So you can see this is an intermittent problem, something loose back here. So we isolated a problem to this location. I'm going to show you how I figured that out. And also another problem that we're having with this car too, but it's not a problem at the moment, it's intermittent also, is the odometer. It has this LCD display. And sometimes those numbers get sporadic and it's really hard to make them out. And sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. And that's a similar problem to what we're having with the lights. It's something loose because when I tap on the dash, sometimes it works again and sometimes it doesn't. So we're going to try to track it down and fix it today so that's not a problem in the future. One of the problems that you may be having is the instrument panel dimmer switch, which is located right next to the odometer on the left side. If you take a look at the radio, you can see that the dimmer switch is working. Right now I have the lights on and you can see that the display lighting is not working, but the dimmer switch is working. It seems to be controlling all the functions that it normally controls, like the radio, the clock, the heating and air conditioning system. You can see that it is functioning correctly. So I would eliminate the dimmer switch for now, definitely, and look elsewhere for the problem. As I said earlier, I know that it's an intermittent problem and it is something loose like a connector or something, because I used to tap on the dash and the lights would come back on and the odometer would read correctly. So what I did was I pulled this out, this cluster here, and I wanted to figure out which connector it was, you know, so I started wiggling the wires and the connectors and see if I can narrow down, because there's 3 connectors back here. One here. So I tried wiggling them and seeing which one makes a difference. So when I got to this one, I noticed that this one had something to do with the display lighting. You can see I'm wiggling it and the lights are coming on and out. So that's good, we narrowed that down to there. So I'm gonna concentrate in this area here and try to figure out which ones of these wires, or I'm going to try to figure out what the problem is. The first thing I'll do is I'll disconnect it. This connector here just has this little tab, just push it in and lift up on the connector. I'm going to inspect it and see if I see any burn marks or anything that looks kind of not normal. And it looks normal. So I'm going to look at this other side of the connector here. I'm going to look down in there and see how the pins look. And the pins, as it turns out, the pins look okay too. They're not corroded or dirty or rusty or anything, so it should be making a good contact as far as that's concerned to that point. Because a lot of times connectors are the culprit when it comes to electrical problems. Okay, so we got that back on. So now I'm gonna try and see if I can figure out which wire is the one that's supplying power to the lights. I'm gonna do that with this tool called a power probe, but you don't have to have this. You can do it with a multimeter or a test light, but it's probably better to do it with a multimeter than a test light. So right now I want to determine which one of these wires is supplying power, and then I can concentrate on there. So what I'm going to do is turn this on and off, and so I hear a different tone. And then I will know I'm on the right wire. Okay, so now I know this is the wire that's supplying power to the lights. Okay, so it's the first one on the top. It's this red and black. Has this black trace on this red wire. So it's this one here. Okay, so now I know that I'm gonna focus my attention to there. The next step is I'm gonna remove the instrument cluster from the car and put it on the bench and open it up and inspect it a little better and see if we can't find a problem. I already started the disassembly process, but it's pretty simple. Just has this trim piece here that goes in there. It has 2 screws on the top. You're gonna need a stubby #2 Phillips screwdriver, and you pull them out, the 2 screws, and it'll just pull out. It has a couple of clips on the bottom. So after you loosen those 2 screws, you wanna try to start on the top and pull it straight out towards you so you don't break these clips. And once you get that out, it has 4 screws holding this assembly in. It's pushed back a little bit more than it is now. 2 on the top and 2 this way, on 1 on each side. You take those 4 out, and then you're gonna wanna finagle it out of there a little bit. It's kind of tight. They don't give you a lot of room. Get to these plugs. There's 3 plugs. It has these little tabs here that you're gonna want to push in, and then you can pry it out gently because this one is connected to the circuit board, so you don't want to cause any damage to it. See if we can pop all 3 of them out. I mean, if you could get to those tabs with your finger, that's great. That's kind of just, for me, it's easier with a flathead screwdriver or something. Take those, push them back. And now we gotta see if we can wiggle this guy out of here. Also, what I already did too, I lowered the tilt steering. I lowered it to the lowest position that it goes in. Just pull it out like that. Now that I know which wire, which terminal is bad, I'm gonna focus my attention on that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put it on a bench, and then we're gonna disassemble it. Okay, I got the cluster out here on the workbench, and it's got these 5.5 screws here. A couple of them. I'm gonna pull them out, and we're gonna open this up, and I wanna inspect this area of the circuit board here and see what's going on with it. See if anything looks fried or any loose wires or whatever. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started with that. Okay, after you get all those screws out from this top plastic piece here, you don't have to remove them all. These here. This is a light bulb. You want to take it out just by turning it a little bit to the left, and then pull these wires out of that little clip there. Get them out of your way. And this should just lift out of here like that. Put this to the side. Okay, so now we're down to the circuit board, and I'm gonna take it out and give it a better inspection. And also, this is a good time if you gotta replace any of these bulbs. This is a good time to do it while you got it out. You can replace these two with a screwdriver. Just turn them to the left, and they'll come out. These you're probably gonna have to get from the dealer only because they're real small little bulbs. But these you probably be able to get at any auto parts store. So this should just come out really easily. Don't let it flex too much when you're pulling it out because you don't want to crack any solder joints or anything. Just like that. Well, this is the plug that we were having trouble with. It's that top left first pin, and it goes, looks like it's the closer one there, so it looks like possibly right there. A lot of times what happens with these electronic boards, especially in automobile applications, the solder joints actually crack because of all the vibration and the heat, and so that's what I kind of suspect at this point. So I'm going to inspect it with a magnifying glass because you can see the real small soldering joints, and it's real common for them to go bad. Sure enough, that first one is cracked. So that's definitely the problem that we're having with the intermittent electrical problem. It's definitely cracked. And it's nice to eliminate which lead it was. This way I know that if I found one that's cracked on the same lead, I know that's the problem. And we're going to touch that up with a little solder, and it should be just like new again. went ahead and I made a repair on this solder joint here, the one that was cracked. And all I did was apply a little heat with the solder iron and just give it a little dab of some solder. And you want to make sure that you don't bridge to another solder joint because you don't want to short it out. So be very careful when you're doing that. And then it looks like it's pretty good, and I think I fixed the problem. So I moved on and I started looking at the odometer, and I see that it has this position right here, and I see that it has these little leads that go from the front of it to the back, and it goes to the other side of the circuit board, and it has the same thing, the solder connection. And I was looking at it with the magnifying glass, but it's really hard to see without it. And I noticed that there's a few cracked ones on the end here, so I'm gonna go ahead with the same procedure and touch them up a little bit with the solder, and then we'll reinstall everything and see what we get. Hopefully it's thumbs up on that. Okay, now it's time for a reassembly of the circuit board back into the clusterment housing. So you just take it and you line it back up like so. Get it seated up there. And you're gonna have to line up this guy here. Just turn it until you feel it kind of go in there. I think it is now. And you just want to gently press this in there. A little bit on each side, so you get it seated in there. Then once you get that down in there, just take your plastic cover, put it on there, put your screws in. Then after you get your screws in, just put this bulb back in there. Like so. Pop your wires back in that little retaining clip. And then you're ready for reassembly back into the vehicle. The way that you see me just do that, that's pretty much the only way you're going to be able to get this back together. Just gently push back on it. Making sure you're not pinching any wires. Stressing out those solder joints. It has these two little black tabs that gotta protrude past this hole. If you see that there, on both sides there's one each next to the screw hole, and then you got two screw holes on the top. So I'm going to put those screws in now. For these up here, you're probably gonna need a stubby Phillips screwdriver. Pop them in. If you're not confident of your repair, this is probably a good time to check it before you reassemble everything. But I'm pretty confident that we fixed it to the best of our ability. If we didn't get it, we're probably not going to be able to. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best. After you get these two top screws in, you want to go ahead and put these two in. final step is to put this trim piece in. Two screws, they go in from the top. And that's it. Now we're going to do the final test and we'll see how it goes. So far so good. Everything looks good. Alright, looks like we made a fix this problem by resoldering the joints, touching them up a little bit where they were cracked. If you tackle this job, make sure that when you're soldering them, because they're real close together, you don't want to bridge them. And what that is the solder actually flowing into the next connection, into the next soldering joint. So be careful and aware of that. This definitely save you some money if you're able to do it. I would definitely give it a try if you're having the same problem. And if you tackle it, good luck.